PAX West just concluded this last weekend, and I got a chance to meander through my very first journey through those halls. Celebrating their 21st anniversary, the convention has grown from a humble space in Bellevue to a multi-story, multi-building showcase spanning video games, TTRPGs, card games, indie games, anime, board games, and all the things related to that culture in the heart of Seattle. Across this last weekend, I got a chance to play a slew of games from some of the most anticipated titles, and in this video today, I want to give you my breakdown of the larger titles on the horizon, as well as my take on which ones I'm excited for. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge in my videos. So let me give you the two, that's right, I tricked you, titles that shocked me the most at PAX West. Pragmata and Crimson Desert both blew me away, and for different reasons. Pragmata, I went into thinking it would just be a typical Capcom third-person shooter, kind of like a Dead Space. But it's actually just so much more than that. Those of you that are looking for a sci-fi shooter with a very engaging and original mechanic tied to hacking robots will love this title. Hacking is a quick 5 to 10 second minigame that is very puzzle oriented, with the shooting being another puzzle within itself. And you have to do that throughout the chaos of being attacked by robots. So it's very intense, it's very fun, but it's very original and fresh. I was not excited about Pragmata, or rather, it just wasn't a game I thought about. And now I'm really excited for its launch sometime in 2026. Crimson Desert, on the other hand, is a game that has been on the radar for a lot of people, myself included. It has seen many iterations since its initial announcement in 2019, but finally getting my hands on it is an entirely different feel than all of the gameplay videos I've seen. Pearl Abyss did an amazing job at making the combat feel alive and original, rather than just like pressing a few of the same face buttons. The game plays like a high fantasy fighting game almost. You don't learn combos like a string of buttons, but rather there are sets of buttons you do or you have to press that result in devastating moves, like L1 and L2, or L1 plus R1, or A and B, or holding R1 and then pressing other buttons. Each one of those are different abilities, and sometimes you hold down one of those combinations for another ability. It sounds complex, but across the 30-minute demo, I was able to learn most of the moves, build quick muscle memory, and start rampaging through hordes of enemies. I was blown away at how weighty and visceral the combat felt, while also rewarding you with some really satisfying combo moves. I was already stoked on the game, but now that I know how it plays, I cannot wait for its launch in Q1 of 2026. But that's too long, didn't watch this entire video. I'll be getting into Borderlands 4, Resident Evil Requiem, Onimusha 4, and Escape from Tarkov 1.0. So if you'd like to hear about a specific game, just jump ahead to those chapters in the timeline in the description. I'll also be expanding my thoughts on both of these games we just talked about. So if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to shut the video down. I want to be respectful of your time. If you are heading out and you found the information in this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe, as each one of those things helps me out in a huge way. Last, you can find a link to my Twitch below, where I'll be streaming all of these games every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's get started on the best game at PAX West 2025. One of the first ones I want to talk about is Borderlands 4. I'm excited about Borderlands. It's coming out in I think I'm recording this on the 2nd of September. So I think it comes out on the 12th. And I've played Borderlands 1, love it, right? Played Borderlands 2. I think for everyone, Borderlands 2 was that peak. This is the best Borderland we've ever played. It's got the best story. It's got really solid DLCs, really good characters. Borderlands 3, I think, is the low point in the series. The story was too self-aware, right? It made fun of itself too much. It didn't really feel fun. It kind of felt like you were playing a joke and you're like, is this a joke all the time? Am I never going to take anything seriously? And in a different way than 2 felt, because 2 felt very tongue-in-cheek and it made fun of certain tropes versus making fun of itself the whole time. Borderlands 4, now I didn't get a chance to play the story. I'm just going to be fully transparent with you. But from everything that they've said, Borderlands 4 is going to have a much more grounded approach. We'll be able to double jump. We'll be able to do a lot more things that people have requested. And I'm going to be doing a Borderlands 4 specific video talking about a lot of the really cool features that they have planned for it. But the way that, or what we got to play, was pretty much a side mission. We got to fight one of these side bosses in the game, and it's through a series of pretty challenging fights. Now, I guess like a pro and a con here, right? The con to what we were dealing with is that We couldn't really customize our characters. I mean, you probably could, but with the amount of time you had left and you being part of a group, you kind of push together with them. So you couldn't customize your talents. So you've got 3 separate talent trees per character that focuses on different things. I was playing the Forge Master the whole time, so I'm able to summon up 2 swords, one of shock, one of fire, and then throw it at something. And it'll then do damage to whatever it is, and then be a pet that persistently follows and damages my targets. So it had a really cool gameplay mechanics, and I really did like that. Now, there are some variety attached to those things as well. We've all played Borderlands where we just have really crazy grenades, right? You throw a grenade and it like blows up and then makes a bunch of more grenades and those blow up and they frag. So with all that fragmentation, it's really cool and it's fun, but now that slot for grenade is different. You can have something that's very akin to the disc launcher from Tribes. You can have something that just is a grenade launcher. That grenade slot is now a little bit more dynamic. It's more of like a heavy item slot and less of a strict grenade slot. And the recovery syringe, which you've been able to have some different variations to, has a lot more different variation this time around. So those things were very exciting. The double jump thing was huge. Being able to kind of drift and move in midair was very fun, so you can actually dodge things. Because we weren't able to really customize much and our loadouts weren't necessarily very optimized, a lot of the enemies we were fighting were super hard and they felt more like damage sponges, which is just really a circumstance of the demo, not necessarily a hit towards the game, because I know that the game can just be, you can go out of control with your talents and your weapons and burn through stuff. And you notice you always kind of hit those windbreaks in a Borderlands game where you're like, all right, time to upgrade my weapon because my weapon's just not killing. The game is always kind of geared towards killing things fast. I was playing in a group of 4. If you've never played Borderlands with any more than 1 or 2 people, know that the game's difficulty, the health, and the drops all scale with the amount of people in the party. So having a 4-person party that is not really like coordinating with each other makes it a lot harder. So take those things into consideration when you're hearing what I'm talking about. Now, the big pro, the thing that I like probably the most about Borderlands 4 is the boss fights. So we know now with Borderlands 4, we'll be able to respawn bosses without having to run the whole entire stage again, a la like a Diablo, where you've always like, okay, I killed Baal, I killed Mephisto, let me reset the game and go run back to him. Now you can just kind of reset the boss, which is really fun, I think, because that's kind of one of the big draws of playing any looter shooter or any kind of action RPG is just doing boss runs. In Borderlands 4, though, those bosses are not necessarily just run up and shoot its weak point. And this is what I really liked, because Borderlands in the past has felt very damage spongy. The boss that I was fighting, you'd press a button and you'd use your grapple hook, which is another thing too. You could be able to grapple a hook around the open world portion of the game and pull off a panel. And that panel then reveals a critical weak spot that's only there for a certain amount of time, and the monster's constantly moving. So it's hard to hit that weak spot, but that's how you do the real damage to the monster. But it has a certain health gate. At a certain percentage of health, that's what health gating means, it will enter a specific phase where it jumps up and the floor becomes, for lack of a better word, lava. And now you can't stand anywhere. You have to use your grapple hook to stay in the air, jumping from thing to thing until that phase ends, and then you're back to the same thing of ripping off panels and hitting criticals. It made the boss fight so much more engaging than just pouring bullets into a critical spot as much as I can to kill it, or being so souped up with a sniper rifle or a rocket launcher that I kill it in 1 or 2 hits. So I'm really excited for that. I'm really excited to see how the class systems work, how those 3 different trees work. I'm also excited to see how a lot of what they've built into the open world and how we're going to be playing it works. And lastly, I'm excited to see what the story is going to be like. They said Borderlands 4, like I've said before, is going to be way more grounded. It's going to be darker. So I'm very curious to see how that all plays out. Borderlands 4 is the next big thing I'll be covering on the channel with lots of stuff. So if you're excited about that, you will be excited for this. Or if you're excited for this, you'll be excited about that. I think that's what I meant to say. Let's Borderlands 4. Let's talk about Escape from Tarkov. So a lot of us have played Escape from Tarkov, myself included. And what the developer was saying during our special media press event. Escape from Tarkov Arena was there, but the press event was for anyone getting a sample of 1.0. What we've played thus far is like half the game, is what they were saying. They were saying you've just really only played the multiplayer. That's really it. And now the PvE bot portion of it. You're going to find out with 1.0 why you have to escape from Tarkov. So 1.0 is a single player campaign that's being added in that is just as punishing as playing any of the maps with bots. It's brutal. There's no, it's a typical Escape from Tarkov fashion, right? You dropped in, you kind of don't really have much context of what's going on. We had to simply go from this holding place to an armory to get all of our items, down to one location to get a key card, and then out. The map was, I'm trying to think of an Escape from Tarkov analog, but like on one of the multiplayer maps. But think of the, I think it's like Dump Yard, the one where it's basically a bunch of storage containers that you meander through, and there's an underground portion. Remove the underground portion, and that's the size of the map you were on. And it was taking all of us the entirety of that press portion to get through it, because it was so punishing. But it was also really interesting and cool because this was the story, this was the narrative we're pushing through. So Escape from Tarkov 1.0 is really exciting. They didn't give us a lot of information on a ton of things because they said they don't want to spoil stuff. They didn't want to give us a ton of press stuff and just go, oh, okay, well, now I guess I know everything that's coming. They said there's a lot of stuff that's coming, and there's a lot of, I don't want to say cosmetics attached to it, but it will feed into how the multiplayer plays, and you'll understand now more about how the hideout system works, how each and every little thing from Escape from Tarkov multiplayer, how it plays into it. They give you an idea of the relationship between USEC, Bear, and how the scavs come about and everything in just the intro portion to the campaign. So it gives you just a lot more understanding of what's going on. So I'm really excited for 1.0 to launch. I'm really excited for you guys to get a sample of it, and I barely played any of it, and I was like, this will punish me in the way that Escape from Tarkov always does. But there will, again, like I said, be an expansion to stuff into that multiplayer, and they'll be changing. I asked, like, hey, are you guys going to start doing wipes on any kind of planned, like a season schedule? Like, hey, every quarter we'll be doing a wipe. They said no, the wipes were more corresponding to patches and changes to Escape from Tarkov. They said they haven't decided on how a set wipe system will work, but they have said that the community's feedback to it is very positive, so they like the wipes. It didn't sound like there's any planned wipes for the first full year of 1.0, but please don't quote me on that. There was a lot I had to take in all at once, so I might be misremembering that. But there are a lot of things planned with that 1.0 that we'll start to get a lot of information on in the near future. So if you're an Escape from Tarkov fan, you will be very stoked on 1.0 because it's going to add quite a bit to jump into. Before we get into the Capcom side of things, let's talk about Crimson Desert. Now, Crimson Desert, we've seen in 2019, we saw, if you know Black Desert Online, they at one point were meant to be linked. Crimson Desert was meant to be a prequel to Black Desert Online. And then it morphed into becoming its own standalone campaign in roughly the same universe. I even asked, like, hey, how will this play into Black Desert Online? They said, we've kind of really separated ourselves a lot from it. It is roughly connected, but as you play through, you'll understand why or how. So I wasn't giving specifics on why or how it is connected. But I've seen plenty of gameplay of Crimson Desert, and I think watching gameplay is a good idea to get a sense for what the game is going to sort of look like. But man, jumping into the actual driver's seat and playing it was an entirely different beast. I had no idea that it was going to play the way that it did. I just thought, okay, I expect this to kind of be kind of like a Dark Souls, like everything's been lately, or at least some sort of like higher fantasy Witcher, right? Like, because Witcher, even though it's got like mythical beasts and stuff like that, by and large, it's not crazy over the top. It's pretty grounded. You can turn into a crow in this game, so you can see that that's got a lot more high fantasy in it. And it's pretty interesting too to see a high fantasy take with like, hey, here's these ogres and these elves wearing like 15th century medieval armor. It was kind of a very interesting parallel there and a combination. So aesthetically, it's a very, very beautiful game. And I was playing it on a PlayStation. I guess it's worth noting. Everything I had played up to this point was on PC. Borderlands I played on a PC, and Escape from Tarkov I played on PC. But this I played on a PlayStation, and it was seamless. 60 frames per second was good looking because it was on an MSI OLED monitor, so it had HDR mode on, so it looked crispy and good. No stuttering, no stammering, aside from like my own like speaking patterns. But the game ran very smooth, so I was stoked to see that. And this is obviously a demo version, so it's going to be a very streamlined, very solid build of the game. They always do that for any of these things. So that's exciting to see that this has probably been in development for like 2-3 months before the convention, right? They usually will spend a lot of time on these marketing builds. So just to have like the best foot forward. So I'm excited to see what the game looks like, considering this is only a marketing build I played. But the combat system, I think, was the biggest thing I'm trying to hint at or talk about, because it felt very weighty. It was very big and destructive. Like when you fight a boss, it was so fast and so over the top and so destructive. I think if you're any kind of Dark Souls player, you've become a better gamer. And because you're a better gamer, it's easier to play games like Onimusha 4, which I'm about to talk about. It's easier to get the timing down of a Sekiro. It's easier for you to understand Lies of P or any other game that requires very sensitive timing. This game really kind of threw me for a loop, because A, the button setup was different, right? Like A is jump and B is roll for a lot of games. X or circle if you're playing on a PlayStation. It wasn't like that here. A lot of buttons were just kind of different. So it forced me to have to adjust to that. I think jump was square button, which is what, your typical X on a Xbox controller. So that threw me off a little bit. And a lot of modifiers are done with triangle and circle, or triangle and X, which is usually X and, or that's Y if you're on an Xbox controller. So that top face button with the bottom two, it's usually those bottom two work together. So there was a little bit of like hand origami I had to play, because I had to get my hand moving properly. But once I did, it really got crazy, because the way that everything works with the combat system is so fighter game-esque, of learning, okay, to put L2 and R2 together, to press L1 and R1 together, to press R1 then like square, or R1 and triangle, or try to get those combinations down to do crazy things. Like for example there, you can press R1 and L1 and your character puts their sword out and glints it. And they do that, it kind of stuns every enemy around them. But if you then hold down L1 and R1, the same buttons we just pressed, your character then goes into this flurry rampage where they just swing around and destroy everything. It's super sick. And then you can press L1 and L2 together, and your character will sheath their sword and shield and pop into a spear and go to town with it. And when you watch all the animation for everything, it has such an awesome martial arts connotation and influence to it. So it looks so fun, and it's so visceral, and it's so heavy. And you play a lot with element play, using your spirit hand by pressing the R3 button. And it's just all these things in combination. I didn't get a chance to take a look really at the story. I didn't get a chance to take a look at how the progression system for the game really works, but there is a loot system very similar to like your Diablo style loot system. Things drop on the ground, it's got a color associated with it, and that's its rarity, so on and so forth. But just the combat alone, Jason, the community manager I was talking to, he was like, what you are in right now is a monster closet. He's like, so enemies are going to constantly spawn here. You can keep moving, or you can just keep fighting enemies here. So it almost felt like a mass brawler, like a Dynasty Warriors, right? So I just sat there for a lot of the time learning how to fight by just killing enemies over and over and over and over. And I feel like a lot of people are going to really get stuck in that loop in a good way. They're going to enjoy slaying through hordes of things because it's just so fun, and then pushing to the objective whenever they want to. So I cannot tell you how excited I am to jump into that game, get a sense for its progression, get a sense for the complexity of its combos, while at the same time the same availability and approachability of those combos. Because I'm not good at fighting games. I just press like, down kick as fast as I can. But the game's combo system worked so well and was so fun that I'm just so excited for you guys to check it out. Let me start now with Capcom, and I'm gonna go into, it's not the worst game that I played at Capcom. It's the fucking game Resident Evil Requiem, and it's my first Resident Evil I've ever played. Whoever made that game hates people because I am such a jumpy person. They sat me in a dark room. I was scared shitless for 31 minutes. But the game's really good, So it's like there's that. It's just I'm terrible with Phantasmophobia. I'm terrible with Demonologist. I'm terrible with what's the one where you're in an insane asylum and you're an investigative journalist and you can't fucking do anything except for hide under a bed. Yeah, I'm terrible at that game too. Because I'm so jumpy. I'm so scared. There's that indie one that everyone played back in like 2010, 2011. That one was great, but it was fuck. So Resident Evil Requiem though was really good. And I like that a lot of Resident Evils follow that fixed camera position, which I'm going to talk about on Onimusha, right? That's a holdover thing from an Oni. That is like a Capcom original developmental choice. And this is more of that first person, you're walking around, you're trying to do everything. It's definitely more puzzle oriented in the same way that Resident Evil always kind of is. This is, again, my very first Resident Evil that I've actually personally played rather than looking over the shoulder of someone playing in abject terror. So take what I'm saying with consideration, please. I liked playing it. I don't know if I'll pick it up because I'm just not good at those games. Like, not good as in I can beat them, but I'm not good at handling them. I liked the direction they went with everything because it felt new for me. That's someone who's seen Resident Evil games, but it felt very horror movie-esque in the same way you would expect. And there's that same thing that you get at every Resident Evil, right? Where you're just trying to run away from something that is following you just slowly, like a slow fast, right? It's moving 10% faster than you. So it's not chasing you down, but it is definitely coming after you. Like the amount of time that I just spent staring into the darkness, wondering if the thing that was going to kill me is still there, was a lot more than I probably should have. I actually did beat the demo, which I guess was not common. They were saying like a lot of people around me were struggling with it, but you just kind of learn like, okay, I gotta hide with this thing. I can't have my lighter out with that thing, and don't hit that bedpan on the ground because it's gonna summon the monster from the black abyss and it's gonna disappear into the nether out of nowhere and just scare the crap out of you. But I can't give you enough information about Resident Evil Requiem that is cross-referenced to other Resident Evil games because I haven't played them enough. So I just want to be transparent with that and open about it. But as someone who's never played them, I thought it was very fun. I just won't pick it up because I'm too scared of those games. But then Capcom will send me one for free, and then people will be like, you should probably play it on the stream, it'd be really fun. And then I'll crap my pants as a grown-ass man playing Resident Evil Requiem. Next up, let's talk about, since we talked about Resident Evil Requiem, then let's get the crap out of me, let's talk about Pragmata. The Pragmata is really fun. It's really awesome. I've already expressed this in the intro, but I didn't know what I was getting into. You know, I had seen the launch trailer and I didn't really know what the hell it was. I'm like, oh, that's a girl wearing a Patagonia jacket. Sick. Oh, this dude is that, whatever. So I didn't really know what it was. It kind of looked a little bit like some Dead Space style of play, like the over-the-shoulder third-person shooter with like a slower pace to the shooting and running. And it does still have that feel, but the game is entirely original in its take on that. I think we're coming to a really interesting stage in gaming. Games have been very derivative for the last couple of years. We've taken a lot of really good systems and we've made them even better. Elden Ring is the best iteration of any Dark Souls anything because it's kind of like the peak of From Software's development of that system, right? We can look at a lot of MMOs and development of those things, a lot of first-person shooters, all that stuff. And now we're starting to get original takes on stuff. And I think it's really exciting. I think the next 5 years in gaming are going to be pretty wild. But with Pragmata, we get exactly that. So you have your third-person over-the-shoulder shooting elements, but you have these robots? What the hell is a robot? These robots that are following you around. No. These robots are your enemies, so they're attacking you. They're not your friends. It's not Pokemon. And you can shoot them, but you don't do a lot of damage. You have to hack them first. And hacking them is basically playing old school Snake on a quick puzzle system. You hold down trigger to aim, it brings up a grid system where you then have to move your quote unquote Snake through the system without double backing on yourself. And there are specific gates you have to go through to with that Snake to then successfully hack. So if you start the hack, there's 2 little gates. You have to go through those gates, then double back into the green power button, which will then hack the enemy and you can finally do damage to it. Now you might think that it is complex for sure, but you might think, oh man, I gotta do like a 45-second mini game every time. That's really annoying. It's not. A hack takes like 5-6 seconds. It's no time, and that's really cool. So if you're aiming with left trigger, you're using right trigger to shoot. You use your face buttons, A, B, or circle, square, triangle, right? Your face buttons to do the hack. That's how you navigate the Snake. So it's really conducive to very quick movement, to really quickly get those hacks in, to then push through stuff. And that's really fun. That little quick puzzle is going to keep you engaged. And I think what's really fun about it too, you think of like a Skyrim lockpicking system. It's cool for the first 2 hours of gameplay, and then once you get an ability that allows you to just to like burn through the auto pick, you're gonna just do that, right? This doesn't take you long enough to become annoyed by it because it's such a fast, fun process of the system. And then your weapons have a bunch of different abilities too. You get like a shotgun, you get one that casts like this net, and the net then shocks everything and locks it down so that you can then hack and attack them. So if you get overrun by a lot of enemies, you can use those special weapons. Well, special weapons have set ammo. So there is a lot to that. And the game does have platformer elements to it as well, because you can jump, you can move around, you can jetpack to places, so you can find little modifiers to all of your hacking games. And these allow you to, okay, now that you've hacked it, it'll take more damage. Or now that you've hacked it, it'll give you health. Stuff like that. So it allows you to modify the hack to get more out of each hack. And that is really fun. Those are an expendable resource. So there's a lot of layers that I got to sample in just 30 minutes that didn't overwhelm me. They just felt so well nestled into the system itself that it was very plug and play. Once you learned how hacking works, how hacking modifying works, and what the weapons do, it was so natural because they just put themselves into each mechanic. And the hacking too is different from things that you hack. So yeah, you're hacking a robot. Robots have that snake system. Oh, you're hacking this door? Well, there's 3 concentric rings, and you have to press a button that corresponds to each ring from the outside in. So you can't just look at it and smash some buttons and win. It's, okay, let me quickly look at this. Or hey, you want to hack this door? You have to hack the individual tumbler pieces basically into place by rotating them. So the hacking is quick and fun without bogging you down, but it's engaging and it's a puzzle, so you feel like you're actually progressing stuff in a good way. Now on top of that, the art direction for the game is really cool because it's very grounded. Your character is in basically a similar looking suit that astronauts of today would wear. The ability to thrust around or jet in place, you have like these maglock grav boots with like these big metal brackets around them and little thrusters on them. So everything feels like it has a very tangible connection to the real world versus just, yeah, you can of course jet around and this Patagonia girl is gonna just zap these robots. Everything has a cool grounding to it. And there is an explanation for why she can do what she can do and what these robots are all about. And that's only in the 30-minute demo I played. So there's plenty of lore to dive into as well. But very, very excited for Pragmata. And again, that was a game I had no idea that was really going to be nearly as cool as it was. And it ended up just completely stealing the show for me. Last but not least, it is Onimusha 4. And the reason it's not the best one in this list is because, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's my favorite one of the list. It's probably the one game I am the most excited for of everything we've talked about. But I already knew what I was getting myself into when I played, and it delivered and trumped my expectations in a good way. It wasn't like, oh man, I didn't like the direction they went with the differences in Onimusha 4. The last one I played was Onimusha 3. Then I played a little bit of the definitive editions they just released this year. But Onimusha 4 feels so good. It feels so good. The combat feels so tight. It 1, 2, and 3 have evolutions upon their combat, and depending on where you sit on the fence, maybe you don't like 3, maybe you don't like 2. There's really like 1 is considered like the best one, right? You no longer have the fixed camera system, which has been a holdover of the legacy of Capcom games for a long time. You now have a camera system that's going to follow you. It almost kind of feels like you're playing like a Neo or a Sekiro, where you have that action element of playing a samurai action and adventure RPG game, right? That is there, but it feels so good. Like pairing things, like watching the animations feels so beautiful. Like just the way that he flicks away the blade and then you can just go to town on something, you draw things in. It has all the original Onimusha hallmarks that you've had from the previous 3, but I think it makes them just so much better, and it feels so tight and so fun to rip through combat. Like, oh man, you get these points where they're stunned enough, you press the square button, and then he just does a huge upward slash from waist to shoulder, and then the enemy dies in place, before its torso slides off its lower body. That's not an exaggeration. That's exactly what happens. And if you do that with like 2 enemies stacked up, it's even better. So you have a lot of really awesome cinematic moments in just the I'm killing through trash portions of the game. So I loved that about Onimusha. And that's why I'm saying the reason it didn't blow me away is because it had a lot of things that I just came to expect from the series. And the things that were presented on Onimusha 4 are just enhancements of its already existing systems. So there wasn't like, oh, I had no idea this hacking system existed, or I didn't know the combo system existed like in Crimson Desert. But I don't want you to think that Onimusha 4 is going to be bad. It's going to be so goddamn good. And I think that what is really cool about Onimusha, this is kind of what we talked about in the last section about how we're starting to take these systems and improve upon them. It's very easy just to do another boss and yeah, parry the boss or kill the boss, and that's all you got to do. Well, now you have a choice, and this might have been an Onimusha 3. It's been like 15 years since I played that game. I can't remember when it came out. I was in middle school. But when you go to do certain things when you're fighting bosses and you stagger them to a certain point, you'll be able to choose between, hey, you're about to do a big strike into them. You've staggered them. You've hit their stagger bar to its max. Do you want to hit this? And it's like a blue or a purple orb. I can't remember which color they said it was. This orb, and that's going to give you more health back and then charge up your abilities so that you can use your abilities. Or do you want to try to go for an alpha strike and just do more damage by hitting this red orb? So you get to choose how you want to actually progress that fight. Do you want to actually, hey, you know what? I'm already on the ropes. I'm already at one hit. I need health right now. Or no, they're almost dead. Let me just try to go in hard in the paint right now. So giving the players some agency of how they approach boss fights, I thought was really fun. I only got to do one boss fight, and it seemed that the demo where I was playing was very early in the game, so I didn't get to take advantage of a lot of different systems. But the setting is really cool too. We're back to feudal Japan, and we're going to be taking advantage of that. We're not Jean Renault is not going to be helping us out, the professional. And even though, like I said, I'm excited for Crimson Desert, I'm stoked for Pragmata. I'm going to be playing Borderlands 4, and I'm going to be covering that. I'm going to be playing Escape from Tarkov. Onimusha is the one on this list that, to me, I'm so stoked to jump back into that series. So you can kind of, I guess you almost could say like, yeah, there's 3 that I'm really excited for. But like I said so many times in this section, Onimusha's systems are just improved versions of their existing ones. And I'm excited for you guys to see how those systems play out. Onimusha comes out in 2026. We don't have a set date. I think they had planned for the beginning of 2026 when their first announcement was the very beginning of this year. So I'm hoping that that still coincides, because I think that's going to be a huge launch for Capcom. It's probably going to want to stay away from that behemoth that is GTA 6 in May, but still, I'm very excited about it. But at that, it brings our video here to a close. So we've covered pretty much everything that I really enjoyed game-wise, but as I guess just a little aside here, I did a lot of stuff. I had a lot of fun. I went to the TTRPG section. I picked up this badass game called Beast Hunters. Definitely check that game out. I almost picked up Rise of the Fellowship? No, it's something of the Fellowship of the Rings. Not Results. Fate of the Fellowship, and it talks about like the Fellowship of the Rings, and I definitely encourage that game. It looks so good. The Slay the Spire board game, almost picked that up. I played if you remember the old action RPG Fate, they made a kind of like a remaster version called Fate Awakened, and I picked that up to play that on my Steam Deck, and it is so fun. There was just a ton of really cool things to do. I got my ass completely handed to me in a Path of Exile 2 boss rush. That was really fun. I think it was the first like 15 bosses. I got to 11, and the guy who got to 15 just completely crushed me. And they gave him like pins and a t-shirt and like a keycap for his computer, and he was like, no, you can have these. I've already won twice. I'm like, oh shit, man. They put the D1 against me. He just smashed me out. They were like, hey man, you're really impressive, dude. You did the 11. I was like, man, this guy just cleaned the floor with me, bro. Like it was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to go back for 2026 and hit PAX West again. Let me know in the comment section below. It's my first time covering any of the conventions I've ever gone to. What more would you like to see? This is all B-reel that has been provided by the companies, so I'm able to provide you from what I was able to play, but very rarely are you actually able to capture any footage from those games. So if there's specific things you'd wanted to see, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Another cool thing too was I played I use a controller for like Warframe and certain games, and I got to try out the G7 Pro from GameSir. I think I'll be picking one of those up and I'll do a review for it, but that's another like thing I got to play around with. Was a lot of peripherals, like their secret lab was there, and I got to sit in. But I already have a secret lab chair, but I wanted to try what the newer ones were like. Little, what is it, Lenovo Titan, whatever the hell those are. They were everywhere. There's badges all over the place. Like there's just so much cool shit at PAX. So if you've never been to PAX, definitely recommend it. It's way more of like a convention that favors consumers versus, well, not consumers, but like fans, versus like you go to like a BlizzCon or a Comic-Con. That's a video game forward thing, right? Or Comic-Con's not really video game forward, but it's like a press forward thing. It wasn't like that here, and it was a lot of fun. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.